I know your opinion is not good. All right, everybody. I know it just turned it on, so there's probably no one here, but cheers. Yeah. Hey, Can. Hey, KYP. PYT. So maybe if I'm in the shadow. Oh well, I just have to live with it. Just have to live with it. Coming to you from my hotel room in Denver. It's really hot here, so and I'm dead tired. But I didn't make any plans tonight. I thought I might have an appointment, but I didn't. So I'll come live and we'll talk about a few things. Maybe you'll have some questions. I don't have a huge list to go over, but I did want to show you this today's trading. Well, I drove past your house last night, and I looked in your window. Lately I ain't been feeling right, and I don't know the cure, Lord. This was today's action in Railtown, and I looked it up. On my service, it looked like higher volume. I think I can still see that volume. I don't think it signed me out. Yeah, on Morgan Stanley E-Trade, it shows 400,000 shares volume. Here on Yahoo, it shows 200. And my guess is most of those sales, most of them, unless you guys got scared out, I would put 95% of the sales as false. But you wonder why they would do it? Well, if there were 400,000 shares traded today, this has a lower number, but again, on E-Trade, it said 400,000. It opened it, and I have no way of telling here, I don't think, what the volume was per trade. I don't have that here. But just as an example, the stock opened at 53. If you were to assume, I don't know, I'm making it up, of course. So it opened at 53.23. Let's say somebody was able to sell 50,000 shares at 53 that doesn't exist. They just sell it. They come into their computer. The prime broker lets them sell it. They sell 50,000 shares at 53. And then the low on the day, which you see right here, all at once to get you scared, the low on the day is 48.92. So let's say they covered it. I'm sure it didn't happen. I'm just trying to give you an example of, because they don't need to do one trade. They can do a lot of different trades. Boom, 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 boom. Why? They need high frequency trading in over-the-counter stocks. I have no idea. You can ask the Chuck E. Cheese Cromwell. But that would be a 4-cent gain. So in other words, I'm just making one trade for the example, but they can do it all the way down. Sell, cover, sell, cover, sell, cover, sell, cover, sell, cover. Establishing that opening position is illegal, but not, it's never enforced because they're good customers. It's never enforced. So if 50,000 shares is an eighth of today's volume, according to Morgan Stanley. So if a day trader did 50,000 shares times 4 cents profit, they made $2,000. It's better than digging ditches. It's better than digging ditches. And so that happens every day. You get scared, maybe. That's what they want. Because some other guys will just press it all the way down. But they don't know anything about the stock. They don't even care about the stock. All they know on their little charts, yeah, I'll show you that stupid chart. I have to admit something on the chart. The pain you left behind, well, it's done me evil. And I wanted you to stay. But that was now wrong. All right, so this is Railtown in Canada, because I can't get, on this charting service, I can't get a longer term chart on RLAIF. I can only go back 7 or 8 months. But anyway, this is Fat Finger, of course, but I see sort of a support line here. However, right here at the end, it broke it, because that's a very thick line. It would be better to have a thinner line. It kind of broke that pennant formation there to the downside. And that's what the computers were trying to do. They were trying to get some momentum, even if just for a day, to the downside. And they can keep pressing their bet. No one enforces the rules. And even on the shorter, you can see it right here. Let's see if I can point right here. Right here. You can see on the smaller diamond, you can see this right here broke slightly. And that's what they tried to do at 12 o'clock, is punish it, because they wanted it to break the 50-day moving average. And then they're hoping it's going to come all the way down to here, because that's what happens in every other stock. However, what I see here, it rallied back, came back into the pennant, and I have to admit that that wasn't a thrilling day, but I don't think it broke support. It tried to. It punctured it, but it came back inside the flag there. It could have been a better day, I have to admit. Now, the other thing about this chart, this is getting short on time. They tried to break it to the downside, but the longer this goes sideways, it is by definition going to break this pennant higher or lower. I think it's going to break higher. To the extent that any real sales happened here, they just move stock from weak hands to strong hands. And you're going to see when it breaks above, I don't know, this is Canada, 80 cents, is that right here? Right here? I think so. I think it's going to go up. I think it's headed to $1 up there very quickly. Anyway, those are my little thoughts on that. My point is, you guys don't. No, neither do I. But there's nobody selling. There's nobody close to the company selling. There's none of the big investors selling. This is all manipulated, and they don't know anything. There's no one that knows something bad. They're just driving it down, and worst case, they cover them. And if they can do it rapidly, because they have computers, high frequency trading. So I gave you an example of 50,000 shares. Imagine if they did 100,000 shares and got 4 cents. That's $4,000. How many of you guys make $4,000 a day? I mean, it's the lush life, and that's what they're doing. But then they go in there and do it with computers, and they'll sell it rapidly, rapid fire if they can, and that's a lot of obviously inflated volume by doing that. But just going 400,000 shares today, just taking 50,000, if they traded in and out, in and out, in and out, and made 4 cents, it's $2,000. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but if a guy or a girl, they're all guys, they do it every single day. If they focused and were able to do that, and they don't just do it in Railtown, they do it in a bunch of stocks. But if they could make $2,000 a day, in a week they make $10,000. They're making 45, 50 grand a month. And it's all by discipline, and it's computerized. They don't even you have emotions. You're human. You have to call, you have to fight your emotions, and then you say, hell, I can't stand anymore, I'm selling. They're not human. They're just machines. And it's mining a corrupt market for pennies, but the pennies and the nickels add up. It really adds up. And it's not the Bill Clinton made it legal for your brokerage firm to give you an entitlement instead of real stock. That's something he changed because he's such a great president. But the other laws, securities laws, like spoofing and colluding and lying on your ticket and entering, for example, entering a sell ticket and you haven't located stock, you haven't borrowed it, and you don't own it, that's illegal. But no one enforces any of those rules. They'll enforce something on the long side, but not on the short side, because it's so much commission. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. I've been at this conference, which ended actually yesterday, but I had a late meeting last night. So for me, it ended. Well, and then I had a meeting most of today. So I guess it ended for me today. Although I'm going to try to get one more meeting tomorrow. And I tried to get a dinner tonight, but it didn't happen. I had a long phone call with the guy instead. But anyway, these companies, these poor CEOs, they think that by getting on the NASDAQ, they're going to be in great shape. Adina Friedman runs a crap exchange. It's probably not her fault because she's just a placeholder. But I tried to explain to them, and they just don't get it. They just don't get it. If you need money and you're under $5 and you're on the NASDAQ, you're going to get destroyed. It's just a fact of life. But anyway, let me see what some of you guys are saying. There's PYT. Hey, KYP. Hey, Ken. Hey, John, how are you? Hey, DD Play. Cheers with my soda. Am I calling you no one? No, I'm not. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. I just, I don't remember how I said it. I wouldn't do that. I didn't mean to. So sorry. D-Mac Baloo, be my baby. Well, I'm coming on mainly because of that volume today and the spike downward. Um, I don't think they target me per se, but I do think they target companies where there's volume of purchase have pushed the stock price up, because then there's something to steal. But they don't know. They're not studying this. They don't know that, particularly the guys just hot dogging it, cowboying it in the United States. Most of the guys that come on here to attack me, they don't even know that it's a Canadian stock. They just think it's an over-the-counter stock like all the rest, and their reindeer games are going to work over and over and over again. On the other hand, for day trading, it works, and I think most of us accepted that the lawyers are on vacation, up in Canada, everyone takes their vacation, um, uh, that we might have to wait till September. And I got a little bit of brushback on that, saying, oh, you know, it could happen sooner. You don't know. Everybody's working hard. But hey, if there's not something tomorrow, next week's the last week of August, and I wouldn't expect anything to happen next week. I think it'll be September, but that's okay. It's given us a chance to add to our positions, and hopefully most of us, all of us, I hope, have not sold, and we understand what's happening. All of the pain and learning we've done in the other stocks, we can use to our advantage here. Um, anyway, the main reason I came on, they may do it again tomorrow. They're trying just to puncture it and scare people. If they can get 100,000, imagine if they, over a period of 2 or 3 days, they could get 100,000 a day at, I don't know, 5 cents a day. That's 15 grand. That's how they think. And they're relentless, and it never ends. And it is illegal, but it's so profitable. It's so profitable for Wall Street that they just don't enforce it. And everyone that you talk to, their eyes glaze over. Oh, looks like you belong, or having way too much time to get back to busy. Shorts were having, I know. I don't know if I was having too much fun, but I was processing a lot today, and some other news too. Hey, Bill, Michael. I'm still in. Yeah, John. There was the guy I met today was telling me about a project, and I'm trying to remember where. I think it was Oklahoma. When you produce oil, you produce water, so they call it produced water. You're bringing oil out of the ground, and particularly in the, oh God, I've forgotten the names of those. I raised money for them, and right now there's a ridge there. It's where Sand Ridge and Chesapeake drilled. My memory is bad. But anyway, when you go in and you drill these horizontal, you bring out a lot of water, sometimes as much as 90% water. But that water, I don't know if it's there, somewhere in Oklahoma. He didn't tell me where. There was a project where they started filtering the produced water, and they got all manner of metals, and the biggest part of what they were getting was the platinum group. It was interesting, very interesting. Hey, Red Pepperoni, how are you? Unbelievable. So John doesn't cotton to my calling it junk silver. It's better to call it constitutional silver. But do you see that? It's selling below spot. I want you to own Railtown. I want you to be buying Railtown. But if you're buying, and when things start hopefully rocking and rolling, I can get back to emphasizing silver. But I think John would say, I don't want to speak for him, but I'll tell you what my experience is. If silver becomes a main street phenomena, in other words, everyone's buying it and it's starting to run and it's hitting the headlines, which it already is a bit. So that's why part of me feels like there could be a bit of a pullback at some point. Well, it wouldn't last long. Nothing goes straight up. But I'm talking about more than that, where everybody, well, already a lot of people are talking about it. But I'm just talking, your shoe shine boy and your flower girl and your everybody starts talking about it. Constitutional silver, and what John means, a lot of people call it junk silver, the coins before 63, I think the Kennedy, the $50 were 63, I think. Anyway, the silver coins, they go to such a premium. When that sells out, I don't know what it is. Everybody clamors for those. And now they're selling under spot. When the price gets higher, I'm trying to remember the premium, but I think I experienced, or at least I've read, where the premium can be massive, almost 100% in a mania. It may not happen this time, but what I would suggest, if you own constitutional silver and it gets lopsided in demand, so there's huge premiums, that's the time to sell. And then, because it's all about owning ounces, not the exact kind of, the pretty picture on the front. But if constitutional silver goes to a premium, you can sell and come back and buy, newly issued walking liberties. It's very interesting, though. That makes me think that's what should be bought now, is constitutional silver. Hey, Ward. Oh. Wow, Ward, good for you. You added another. So you were a lot of the volume. Bravo, 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 bravo. You were a lot of the volume. That is awesome. That is awesome. And you took advantage of it. Good for you. That is awesome. I got to add that 100,366. That's awesome. That really is good news. Hey, Julius, Julius from Houston. Wow. We were talking about a company up here, and I can almost remember the name of it. Oh, I do think it was a merger. It was company that began with a C, merging with, I think they both began with a C. Anyway, the headquarters were here in Denver, and they moved to Houston. So we're talking about all the tax dollars going to Houston. Hey, Catherine from Ontario. Wow, eh? Get mad at me for teasing about saying eh? Did you ever see that one with Stewie and Brian going up there? Eh? They needed to borrow a car, eh? I'll try to find it. John Croissant, my cost basis is 34. If it goes below that, you might buy it. Yeah. I'm always essentially making predictions, and that's a fool's game when you're making predictions about the future. But I don't think you're going to see 34 cents again. I did notice on that chart, well, I was looking at the the U.S. price, that it I guess today it came sort of close to 47 and a half, which I remember that guy on here. Well, it went to 48.92. I guess it's not that close. I thought on the chart it looked a little lower. But still, that guy that swing trades, which I don't want you to do with this stock, he was right. It pulled back, and I told him I didn't think it would be under, although I don't remember if he said 47.50 or 42.50. I don't remember. But anyway, the point is, it's been down longer than I thought, so I could be wrong, but I don't see any way it's going back to 34. I would just tell you, John, if you're even thinking of buying it, you just got to hold your nose and buy it at these prices, and if it were to go pull back, you just say, oh, well. But it could be tomorrow. Just because I'm skeptical doesn't mean it won't be tomorrow or it won't be Monday. But you could suddenly see, I don't know, pick a number, 12:30 tomorrow, news release. We finally got our Shinola together, and we're announcing the most exciting acquisition in Canada, AI for the year, or something like that. But that's great that your cost basis is that low. I would round it up. I'd start bringing that cost basis up now by buying stock at 50 cents. Because when the news comes out, my prediction, again, it's a prediction, it'll blow right through $1. I don't know if it'll go, screaming. Maybe it goes to $1.25. But the point, if I'm right, you'll only be able to buy half as many shares then as you can now. Let me ask you this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. As time goes by. Let me ask you this. We've all been burned in the last few years. We know the symbols. When do we question the merger? October, November, or later if it happens by then? Well, Bill, you can question it now. I question it. I think about it all the time. But I'll give you where I stand on the merger. It's probably 2 or 3 observations. One is that if the merger had failed, or if there were trouble, the stock wouldn't be trading in Canada at these prices or in the United States. I think the stock would be trading at 20 cents. And that contradicts a little bit my observation that people can't buy while it's a quiet period. But human nature is such that if there's material news, let's say, an underpaid wanker gets a whiff of it out drinking, or his team is working on it, and he goes back to his wife, and she works at, I don't know, Morgan Stanley, institutional investing or something, and she hears it, and she just says, hey, to one of her clients, I heard something, and they buy. It can happen. So my point is, the fact that the stock price is up and it's strong, that you don't fight the tape in that sense. But you would say, well, some of the other stocks we've waited for a merger, like GTII was going to merge with a law firm. It's not. This isn't even in that league. I think that story was made up, nearly made up. I think it was nearly made up. It might have had a whiff of truth, like they met a guy. You know, a guy. They might have met a guy, out fishing. They said, hey, we'll give you some shares if you pretend you're going to merge with us. I don't know. But that's just so amateur compared to what's going on here. And then you're going to compare it maybe to CRTD merging with GTII. Again, Jeremy's an amateur, total amateur, full of himself. He's believes he's smarter than everyone, and maybe he is. I met him, smart enough, I guess, but not. I didn't get to test his thought process, but it's, nothing special, nothing that Wall Street can't run right over. And he busted that merger, but that's all that crap. It's all that manipulated crap. Trying to get GTII to squeeze and doing this and that, it's all junk. And then we had this one recently. G-Bucks has got some guy coming in, and it's going to have this gold thing and this other thing. Again, all manipulated, all just trying to make something catch fire. So maybe there could be a squeeze, but it's amateur. It's nothing real. It's not real investment banking. It's a guy with a cigarette habit that he's trying to fight, and a few drinks and phone calls and getting comfortably numb and get some people around. And we can get this to happen, that to happen. Call around, get that, give some shares here, make some promotional efforts there, and maybe it'll work. But it's not the same thing. Use some buzzwords, it's not the same thing. I don't know what other mergers you're thinking about that fell through. The rest of these, Bill, I'm really trying to get people to see that Railtown doesn't belong down here. The only reason it's here is because there is shorting, but it's also in this prolonged quiet period. So there's no buying. There's no significant buying. But anyway, the other thing I worry about is time. Time usually wounds all heals. And as my grandmother told me, anyway, time wounds all heals, but it also kills trades. But Railtown's not a trade. It's not a swing trade. It's not a day trade. It's not a, hey, get in this. It's going to squeeze, get out at that. It's not hot money. But I do worry. That's a hell of a lot of time. It's 6 months. It is 6 months since they made that announcement. Now, looking at the announcement, one of the obvious reasons to me that they had to make the announcement is they hired Canaccord Genuity. That is material. That is announceable. And you can't sit on it very long. Otherwise, maybe they could have, stretched it out. Is it drug or dragged? I've been hanging out here. People talk differently. They could have dragged it out or dragged it out. Anyway, they could have waited before they made any announcement if they were just talking with each other. But once you bring in a banker and they're doing all their work, you really have to announce it. So I guess that's 2 points. The first is the stock price is up, and it's pretty steadily up and strong. They haven't been able to shake it down. So to me, that means the deal is on, the merger is on. Secondly, if it had fallen through, they'd have to announce it. They could not announce that. Thirdly, maybe the reason that this is going, one of the reasons this is going on so long, is once they hired Canaccord, they had to announce, even though it might have been a little bit premature in their study of each other, their due diligence, their negotiating, their arranging of who's going to be sitting in the corner office and who's going to, work in the mailroom. I guess they don't have mailrooms anymore. But when I put it in that context, it adds maybe a month or two to the timeline that maybe isn't unusual. And then I've described to you, Bill, GTI is a piece of crap company. The law firm was one man, and it was being built up. It was just trying to trigger these buy-ins that never happen. At least not when we're watching. But this, Bill, is not that at all. This is, Railtown is two guys that met 6 years ago, but they have their own money in it and their time that created with vision an AI tool that helps all AI programmers, a massive market. And they intentionally got it ready early for when the compute power, I hate that word, met the faster chips, or whatever they're called now, so that AI 2.0 is born with this massive ability to process data rapidly. And they were ready. So they've done it before. They've built companies before. They've sold it to Microsoft and others. That product, called Conductor, is already receiving revenue. We just don't know about it yet because it's a quiet period. But they went out and started marketing a year ago. And the research I showed you is telling you that the addressable market on that Railtown product is $3 billion. And if they get 3% of it, it's a $2 stock at 12x. Well, the X's have expanded. The addressable market has gotten bigger. But just based on those numbers, Railtown on its own doesn't even need the merger to go to a higher price. But then on AI partnerships, these aren't jokesters. This isn't a guy meeting a guy, having a cigarette at a pool, saying, why don't we merge here? We could do some shares and it's going to squeeze and, it'll kick in and you'll get rich and hey, let's go deep sea fishing or whatever you do in the Caribbean. AI Partners was set up by John Ruffalo, Mike Norbega, and Dr. Tom Core, who have a career. Each of them have a career in funding technology, in funding particularly Constellation Software, 25 million to 100 billion Canadian. And they said, hey, why don't we take the Constellation Software model? I'm making this assumption. Why don't we take the Constellation Software model and we'll create AI Partnerships Corporation, a network of 160 AI companies. And we'll just take that model, which was for small uh, uh, um, computer software companies in niche markets. Why don't we take that model, and mature in a lot of cases? We'll take that model into a nascent market where these companies, they may be small, but they're each targeting huge upside, and we'll roll them up, and we'll use that same strategy that happened in Constellation Software. We're going to do it here in Canada with and North America with the best 165 companies out of 3,000 or something that exist. They have their own business model, and it's a good business model. And John Ruffalo ran Omer's Ventures. He has his own investment banking company. Doctor, I'm not sure Dr. Korf, he worked at Waterloo. It might be Norbrega. Anyway, one of those guys was the president and CEO of Omer's. They do all of the investing. They come start this. It's not a lark. It's not, hey, we got a shell here. It's got a big short. My guy can buy all of the shares, and then we can just bring in a company, and that we can get these guys I know from Italy and these guys I know from Korea to come in. I'm trying to make that up so it doesn't sound like any company. And then we'll bring that in, we'll make the stock squeeze, and I got to take this call. It's not one of those things. What they're doing is building a real business, and it's going to be big. But Railtown met them. Conductor's the whole thing. Conductor. It's ahead of everybody. They came in, met Ruffalo and Core and Nobrega, and 160 companies came in and nothing happened. Railtown comes in and they say, buy us. And it's not a gimmick. They're not trying to make this thing squeeze. They're saying, we have the strategy of a network of 165 AI companies. They all need Conductor. You can cross-sell it across all of our clients. They're already doing $400 million in revenue, reportedly. And they have 5,000 end users so far. It's probably much more now. You can cross-sell Conductor. We can all make money on that. So why don't you buy us? That's all the confirmation you need. This is not trying to bring together various pieces to trick the market into a buy-in. It's not that. So anyway, I take great comfort in these guys, Ruffalo and Core and Nobrega and the rest of the team, saying, buy us. I think it's huge. And it's a confirmation of how good Conductor is. So what does that mean? Even if the deal fell apart, Conductor is good. They've already announced, I think it's 5, it might be 4 revenue deals that you've seen. There's no revenue in them because there's a quiet period. It's so annoying. It's just endlessly annoying. But it's a quiet period. I guess there was one other thing I wanted to say, and it slipped my mind, whatever it was. Yeah, I can't get my brain to recreate it. Let me read your question. Yeah. Oh, how much? Okay, that's what it was. That it's taking so long. When do we get worried? I mean, in a normal situation, I'd already be worried. But if you, as I've described before, if you think about it, Railtown probably has at least, I don't know, a dozen core investors. It's got people on the board. It's got serious guys running it. Everybody's going to have an attorney. The company's got hires a firm. There's going to be a bunch of attorneys there. Then the regulators have attorneys in-house at least. Then you go over to Canaccord. They're going to have some attorneys, but a lot of bankers. Then you get over to AI Partnerships, which is 165 companies. They're all going to have one or two attorneys, and the network's going to have attorneys, and then they're going to have a lot of core investors that have attorneys. And you've got boards, and you got votes, and you got approvals, and you got to get it all joined in, and you got to make sure that unlike Logic, who announced there were going to be 7 or 8 deals, they just took the first one that came through and gave them exclusivity, and it walked right into the shorts. They have to try to get at least a chunk of these locked down so that doesn't happen here. It's a lot of attorneys. It's a lot of, hey, I went to Harvard. I was at Harvard. My girlfriend's Harvard. My kids are going to go to Harvard. I donate to Harvard. My tie is always the color of Harvard. I'm Harvard, I'm Harvard, I'm Harvard. And then the other attorney says, well, I went to Duke, but down at Duke's a good school as well. And the other one says, I went to Emory. And they're trying to show each other how bloody smart they are, tell their clients that they're worth $2,000 an hour. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And then you have vacation in there. My point, I guess I'm trying to make, Bill, and this might be me believing my own spit. I just think there's a lot of people involved. It's a big deal. It's hard to nail down. It's not 5 people getting around a breakfast table. I would imagine there could be 200 or 300 people here whose signatures and input, and then you got to listen to them, to give their ideas, and then one of them might have a heart attack, so you got to go talk to their wife, or the wife just ran off, and so you have to go to get her husband's signature. I don't know. It's people, and I think there's a good case to be made, Bill, that the longer it takes, the story gets stronger, not weaker. It gets bigger. It means it's more involved, more paperwork, more meat on the bones. But I might be seeing it through rose-colored glasses. But bottom line, you don't fight the tape. They're trying to fight the tape, and it's not working. I think the price of the stock tells you the deal's going through. And I guess I'll just also remind you that the last news announcement that was issued on behalf of Railtown was also issued on the behalf of AI Partnerships. And both CEOs were quoted and confirmed that they're working together on this project. I don't think that would have happened if the deal fell apart. So I don't think the deal's falling apart. Even if it were, though, I think there would be a sell-off because it'd just be knee-jerk. But I think Railtown on its own can probably get to 100, let's just use a round number, 100 million in revenue. And, if you use 50 times revenue, which I admit right now seems like a high multiple, but they're going as high as 100 and 150 times. you've got a $5 billion company. It's a big number per share. It's probably $30, $35. I'm doing it in my head per share. You know, at $5-6 billion. That's just for Railtown all by itself. However, I think Railtown can get to its targets much more quickly by acquiring the network of companies and cross-selling and bringing that revenue in. It happens, claiming the beach happens much more quickly that way. And so the multiple might be a lot higher if they do get AIP acquired than if it were just Railtown. These are all variables we don't know. But two things about Railtown. It's not a short squeeze play. It's not a manipulated, if we do this, 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 and this, there's going to be a squeeze. It's not that kind of play. And secondly, Railtown can get along just fine without AI partners because Conductor is so good. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, it's a long answer. Sorry. Hey, Bill. Oh, ask. Hey, Leanna. You seem so tired. Get some rest. Take care of yourself. Send you. Thank you. Thank you. I am tired. Very tired. Very tired. But yeah, I guess maybe I'll be able to go live a bit during the day tomorrow. But I guess I'm just really trying to make sure people realize that the sell-offs, that's really day trading. And it's because the stock's up, because they know they have a lot of investors who are going to be nervous. They're just trying to pick it off. There probably are a lot of short sellers that have longer term positions that would love to take big blocks to cross and cover. But it doesn't have to be those guys. It could just be aggressive day traders, cowards. And so I just don't want people to get shaken out. Going back to Bill's question, I think the reason this thing is taking so long is attorneys. They're endless. But it'll end at some point. It will end at some point. They will finish. But during that time, it's in limbo, and then the day traders come in. I do not think the delays are a sign that the deal's falling apart. I think that the business, there's legal decisions and then business decisions. It's pretty clear from the announcements that have been made, the business choices and business terms in general, the business decisions have been made. It just takes attorneys a long time to catch up. They've got to plod through all the rules in their head, and it's just. And the people that hire attorneys realize you have to hire them. You need them because you got to do it right. But you can't help but wondering if they could do it better more quickly. But anyway. Yeah, I am a little tired. I'm going to try to sleep tonight. And it's just, you wake up with jet lag and all that. But thank you very much. That was very kind. I haven't sold any Railtown. Do you see the end? They raised $6 million. No, let's go over that. I didn't see that. I wonder if it was with Alex. Who I saw here. And we had a nice we shared a drink out on the patio at Haynes Boone. That'd be, they really raised 6 million? August 20, Nextbridge Hydrocarbons secures additional funding. My eyesight. Okay, there, I turned it. I can read it. The company announced it has successfully completed a $6 million capital raise through private equity debt financing. Nextbridge will use this capital to meet funding commitments required to participate in the drilling and completion of our working interest in the Panther prospect. Do you know what you do if a panther calls? Leanna, do you know what you do if a panther calls? Don't answer. I think this will be all right. I think this money account settings is probably raised from some of the large investors in the company, and I think it'll be all right. But I'll have to look on the SEC filing. I hope it's not a disguised toxic convertible. I don't think it is, though. I think he has a group of investors in there, and they want to stay in the Panther project. So I think it's probably all right. That's great. That's great. I'll try to find more information about it. Thank you for letting me know it. Do they still call it black gold? The popular term, and if you're like me, you just get annoyed when you notice that everybody uses the same word, and it's like it just floats from one brain to the next brain to the next brain. Happens in America constantly. I had a friend in London point out to me, he said, oh, okay. So why are you saying that? He says, well, that's what all Americans say. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And I never noticed it. So I came home and sure, I heard it everywhere. Oh, okay. Anyway, we all say the same thing. So the popular term now is molecule. They talk about oil and gas as molecules. But yeah, they call it black gold. More importantly, a lot of the industry isn't about exploratory drilling anymore. That's it. That's it. Middle ground. You're very smart. Cabot and Cimarex. That was it exactly. That was it exactly. And I guess the CEO lived in Denver, and of one of them. I forget which one right now. And I think he was ready to move, so they moved it all to Houston. I've noticed multiple people talking gold and silver. Yeah, that's what, I mean, obviously you need everybody doing it for the prices to go up. And I believe they're going to really go to levels you can't even imagine. I mean, but we've talked about that. And there's a lot of gold and silver just getting taken out of the LBMA and COMEX paper markets as physical, and that physical is going to Shanghai. How long are you going to be in Shanghai? And they're staying. It's the physical is going east, and it with fewer and fewer ounces of physical to manipulate, they can't hypothecate and rehypothecate as breezily anymore. And at some point, it's going to be a crisis, and you're going to see much, much higher prices. But when everybody's talking about the dimwits on TV and the promotional, everybody you listen to, they have a gold sponsor. You got to be on alert. There could be a sharp pullback at some point to scare everybody. It doesn't have to happen. The problem is you want to own it. It's a lot like Railtown to me. You want to own it while it's available. Silver will become unobtainable. John's constitutional silver will be unobtainable at some point. Gold will probably be virtually unobtainable. Platinum, it's going to be a phenomena. We're not there yet. Core denters. See, I didn't know what they created. Yeah, okay, that's it. You got it. Those are the two. I think Cabot was the one here in Denver, but you could prove me wrong. 1964, 90%. Yeah, 1964. Okay, I got it off by a year. Kennedy, it's the Kennedy $50. When silver goes high enough, or gold goes down enough to get a favorable silver for gold. Well, I showed you that the other day, but I can show it again. This is Mike Maloney's gold silver ratio. It's interesting to show it. Oh, I got to take your comment down, I guess. Well, let me take the comment down. Yeah, there. So when the ratio is over 80, so in other words, 1 ounce of gold buys more than 80 ounces of silver, you should buy all silver. And then that same number, when it's between 70, 80, buy 25% gold, 75% silver, 60 and 70, 50, 50. And then when the ratio gets lower, he favors gold. I really think silver's where to be, but I'm pretty sure a guy with a cigar, not a cigarette. Yeah, probably. Probably. Could be a girl with a cigar. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, though. Tebow, how are you? Good evening. Imminent doesn't suggest the merger is falling apart. No, that's true. When I spoke to the guy from the company, that's the word. I don't know if he said, I can't remember if he said imminent. I think that's the word he said, but that was his implication. I don't have my notes with me, so I would tell you otherwise, but I think that's the word he used, and you're absolutely right. Northwest, I can't tell. This is probably one of those shills. I stopped looking at Railtown since 2 weeks ago. Are you, English isn't your first language, or are you a computer? Are you just a bot? It still hasn't moved. What's the update? Fill me in on how we're looking. Well, I've been trying to do that, but I don't have any new information. But this isn't hot money, Northwest. Still, if you're in it for 2 weeks, it's the wrong stock for you. Go listen to the newest Benedetto Beauty or the newest, swing trade sweetheart. Just go do that. This isn't a 2-week stock. And if you can't wait 2 weeks, it's just not the right stock for you. But and it has moved. Railtown has doubled basically from when I first started really emphasizing it. I know one gentleman here paid 22 cents. So it has moved. It's just digesting those gains. It's the pause for the cause. It'll be fine. Where the bottom line with Railtown is guys like you short the stock and create fear and uncertainty and doubt. And the company can't talk about itself. The company can't engage analysts. It can't go on road shows. It can't have conference calls. It can't pitch it on YouTube. They can't talk about the revenue. They can't do anything while they're in this quiet period. And so it gives you free roam to play with. But 2 weeks is nothing. Most people here have been in this since I've been yammering, since, June, July, August is 3 months. So 2 weeks. If your investing style is 2 weeks, you're not an investor, you're a gambler, or you're a short seller that's turning on computers, and you have an algorithm, you have a system that just churns out on average great returns, but you're not a real investor. 2 weeks, it's silly. I'm not in that game. Hey, buy a stock, it hasn't moved yet, I better go hop on another one. It's a guaranteed way to turn a small account into a much smaller account. I'm trying to turn small accounts into much bigger accounts. And how we are looking in Railtown, I think Railtown's going to give you from 50 cents when it finally announces this merger as being finished and complete and completo, finito. I think you're going to see 10x. I'm not saying it'll happen in 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, but it's going to be pretty quick, pretty rapid. 10x. Northwest. You're not willing to wait 2 weeks for 10x? You should go destroy some more stock somewhere. Silver Kennedy $0.50. Oh, the Kennedy is 40%. See, John knows what he's talking about. I just get it close. So 1964 and before, and there's rumors they got rid of Kennedy because he wanted to go back to real money. And coins are printed by the U.S. government. Dollars, it's by the Fed, which isn't federal. It's not a reserve. Definitely not a bot. I'll check in next month. Well, I guess, okay. Maybe Railtown is timing the market on announcement. Keep in mind, NVIDIA earnings is next week. Well, I don't think they would time it with NVIDIA, but, and from a legal standpoint, you're not allowed to time it. But wouldn't it be better if you're going to announce great news, instead of doing it in the last week of August, where everyone's at the beach, with the beach, can't say that word the other way, so they're not paying attention to news. Wouldn't it be better to wait for the second week of September? Not even the first week. The first week, everyone's just strolling back into the office. You know, they get in on Tuesday or Wednesday, meet for lunch, have a cocktail party, look over a few papers, leave early, take Friday, half day Friday. They don't come to work really until the second week of September. Wouldn't it be better to announce it then when everybody's paying attention? Probably. You might have a good point. You might have a good point. I printed something out from Forbes, which is not, boy, they have that here too, where the young punks drive the motorcycles and rev it. They have it in my town, but I guess it happens everywhere. Oh, I want to tell you about that. You know how I always bring up Fukushima Daiichi, and you guys think I'm crazy, and certainly I may well be. I just want to show you this. This is August 18th, FDA's enforcement action on shrimp. Indonesian shrimp. The Alert 9951 is rarely used. And by the way, Hillary Clinton got an exception. We don't test any food coming from Japan. She's so great. So anyway, Import Alert 9951 is rarely used. And this is regarding the U.S. safety of the U.S. food supply, monitoring for contaminants, radionuclides such as cesium-137, how do you pronounce that? Radioisotope of cesium can be present in many places around the world as a result of contamination produced in the atmosphere during nuclear testing. CS-137 is created via nuclear reactions, such as occurring in nuclear power plants, and is commonly used in medical and other industrial applications. Elevated amounts of cesium-137 can be present at locations where contamination settled from accidents such as Chernobyl and Fukushima. I just want you to know I'm not a loony. The import alert describes the risk to health created by exposures to low doses of cesium-137. It emits beta particles and gamma radiation that are associated with adverse health effects. Potential for health concerns following cesium-137 exposure depends on the dose and the duration. High doses lead to acute radiation syndrome. However, exposures to low doses spread out over a period of time, that's probably not true, by the way. All you need is this to lodge in your body. The primary health of concern following longer-term repeated low-dose exposure is cancer, resulting from damage to DNA within the living cells of the body. There has been no explanation as to why cesium-137 would be present in Indonesian shrimp, but in response to public comments, they mentioned the release of radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station in Japan. And then they mislead you. The FDA stated cesium-137 has a half-life of 30 years. You know, a half-life of 30 years, you still have another 30 years for another half-life, and then another 30, it's forever in human terms. Anyway, I just really wanted to show you that I'm not crazy when I talk about the concentration of radiation from Fukushima. All right, so let me go with 48 first. This is not intense, but according to Forbes, and I took the date off, but it's last month, more than 2 years after the blockbuster launch of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence continues to be the white hot center of venture capital and the business world at large. Some of the buzziest startups have shifted focus from the AI model release horse race to building useful applications and products on top of existing models, automating scut work across fields like engineering, healthcare, legal, and sales. That's evident in the Forbes 7th annual AI 50 list, produced in partnership with Sequoia and Meritech Capital. And I guess it's the most promising AI. Newcomers to the list are $2.5 billion valued AnySphere, Cursor, 3-year-old AI startup that helps energy engineers write and edit code. That's what Conductor does. That's what Railtown does. And has at least 100 million in annualized revenue. 100 million in annualized revenue. I believe Railtown can do 100 million in its sleep over the next 18 months. In other words, they can project annualized revenue. I think they can get there over the next 12 to 18 months. 2.5 billion, that would be a $17 stock, roughly. The $1 billion valued AI language tutor AppSpeak, which is used by some 10 million people to learn English and Spanish. The unicorn Open Evidence, which is building an AI-powered search platform for doctors. Model builders like OpenAI and Anthropic remain the biggest companies on the list. Having raised large sums of capital from marquee venture capitalists, the two AI behemoths have accumulated a combined 81 billion in venture funding, more than half of the total that companies on this year's list have raised. But there's also hefty new competition I already gave you that one. 49. I guess I'm missing the sentence about, oh, there it is. Hefty new competition from Elon Musk's XAI and former OpenAI CTO Mira Murati's stealthy startup Thinking Machine Labs, which is developing broadly capable AI systems and reportedly raising 1 billion at a valuation of 9 billion. And she's just doing what Railtown does. I mean, what I understand Railtown does. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like it is to me. So she's going to raise the billion and at a value of 9 billion. That would make Railtown, I think, around $45 a share. I could be wrong. Call it 40. I mean, still, it's huge. Meanwhile, Fifi Lee, who used to date a congressman known as the godmother of AI, has launched her own startup, World Labs, and raised 300 million to develop models that can understand physical spaces. That's funny. And then there's the enterprise AI writer, 300 million, which is training its own models to handle mundane business tasks. That's Railtown, like writing market blogs and searching through troves of documents and being attorneys. Artificial intelligence companies, whether apps or model makers, typically rely on expensive silicon chips and energy intensive data centers for computing power to train and run their models and applications. That's been advantageous for a cohort of infrastructure providers like 2.8 billion Crusoe, 2.5 billion Lambda, and 3.3 billion Together AI, which have bubbled up to sate AI's voracious appetite for compute, another destruction of the English language. But as companies spend billions of dollars on computing power to train ever larger, more capable models, startups like DeepSeek have shown that training can be done in a more cost-efficient way. While DeepSeek isn't on the AI 50 list this year because the company's funding, revenues, and business practices are opaque, to say the least, you will find, and they use cohort again, cohort of Chinese AI companies to watch here. But as some of these startups are grappling with industry-wide issues, one of the biggest being litigation over alleged copyright infringement that is still moving through the courts. It's a problem. Multiple startups on the list, including OpenAI and Anthropic, have been sued for allegedly training their AI models on millions of copyrighted works of art and intellectual property. Meanwhile, a growing group of publishers, artists, musicians, and authors have expressed concerns that AI companies have illegally scraped their data from the internet to create tools that compete with them, posing a threat to their livelihoods. Image and video generation tools like Runway and Midjourney were similarly sued by a group of artists in 23. 11 Labs, which develops AI tools to create cloned voices, has faced lawsuits from voice actors. Music Generate Suno has faced copyright infringement from Taylor Swift because it's the same song over and over again. Cohere and Perplexity have been met with criticism and legal action from a flurry of news publishers for alleged copyright infringement. Forbes sent a cease and desist letter to Perplexity in June of last year, accusing it of infringing on a copyright and joined AI. So it's a lot of attorneys involved here. AI companies have broadly argued that their use of publicly available copyrighted content falls under fair use. Well, that none of this applies to Railtown. This year was among the most competitive for the AI 50s list. Forbes received some 1,800 submissions. Applicants do not pay a fee and are judged for their business proximity, I think it says, and whether or not they are white, straight men. They do not pay a fee to be considered and are judged for their business promise, technical talent, and use of AI through a quantitative algorithm and qualitative judging panels. Companies are encouraged to share data on diversity, and our list, can't be a white straight guy. Our list aims to promote more equitable startup, more women, particularly women. You got to get women in there, and then other minority men, but make sure women get in there ahead of everybody. For more, see our full package of coverage, blah, blah, blah. And the reporters are 2 women and 2 men. And the director is a woman. Not that it matters, I know. All right, here's those 4 companies Anysphere, Michael Truwell, he looks like a white guy of mixed. Anyway, AI is among the hottest products in a very hot AI market. It's the only product of parent company Anysphere. All right, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Mercor, another guy. 2 billion startup has its way. Your next job interview might be conducted by a robot. And then there's a woman, Mira Murati. She's very happy looking. She's the CEO again. And even minus the specifics, the buzz is deafening. Well, anyway, there she is. And there's Fifi Lee, who's using AI to measure spaces, the godmother of AI. Anyway, there's 4 of them. And then here's the list. I'm not going to read the whole bloody thing, but here's the list. And you can see the funding. They're raising 400 million, 17 billion, 176 million, and they're all recently founded. Railtown was founded in 2019, to my memory. It's about 6 years old. And some of these are pretty big. And they're in all sorts of industries, which is great about Railtown. It helps all of these companies develop software, as I understand it. There's a video editor. There's right here, Byteam is an app for deployment of software. Well, that's what Railtown is. Anysphere, coding tools, that's Railtown. AI model developer, that's Railtown. Voice generation software down here, that's Railtown. Anyway, it's more just to show you there's a long list of AI, and I think AI is here to stay. Could it be a bubble? Well, we got to watch out for that. Hugging Face, open source library for AI models. Hey, that'll be the one. That'll be the most successful. Scale AI, 1.6 billion. It's data labeling and AI infrastructure. I think Railtown's some of that anyway. And then Speak, AI language tutor. That's what, well, they're teaching you language, so I guess that's a little different. Web and mobile app development, cloud provider, AI-powered coding tool, data labeling and AI infrastructure. I personally think this is all up Railtown's alley. XAI model developer, AI coding tool. Anyway, it's just to show you that there's a lot of buzz, I guess, a lot of companies. Hey, Gary, how are you? Jack Hamilton, just got notification you were on, and now I'm caught up. Even though you look tired, you seem to be doing a whole lot better. I did get to add a little Railtown. I like that RT. I like that RT. I like that little nickname RT. That's good. Railtown RT. It's not bad. Yeah, I am tired. I think anyway. Yeah, try not to think about something. I'll get the numbers tomorrow. That'd be great. Hey, Donna, your haircut looks, yeah, my haircut looks great. Yeah, all the I was more invisible. than usual. No, it appreciate it. Makes me look younger. Wow. God, everybody giving presentations and running billion-dollar companies, they all look so young now. They all look so young. Donna says hi to Jack. Oh, gosh. Google has a 6-year cloud computing deal with Meta Platforms. $10 billion. Wow. Worth $10 billion. It's a lot of compute. It's a lot of compute. This is the search giant's second big agreement after one with OpenAI. Wow. Brandon Neely. I made the comment a week ago that I read Google would be the leader of AI tech. I heard someone say there's only two cloud systems that matter, and one of them was Amazon, and the other one might have been Google. So you might be right. I figured out today I want to buy almost 4Ks to reach a number. Bravo. I know it seems endless, but at some point you're not going to be able to buy the shares you want to buy. So, but it's okay. If it turns off and we just have what we have, that's okay. But I just emphasize waiting for lower prices might work out, but I don't think so. I think I've been, I guess, told by several people that who may or may not know anything, I don't know, but they just insist that this isn't going to go into September. I'm skeptical for the reasons I've given you, and it boils down to vacation. But if this doesn't go into September, if you take that as your assumption, you got tomorrow and next week to buy your shares at these prices, in my opinion. So, but that's great. I think that's great, Donna. Brandon, can you imagine all the deals Google is making? Wolf, Meta, all for AF, they use Conductor. Yeah. Well, there you go. I don't have that specific knowledge, nor am I a technical guy at all. But I do believe that Conductor would be valuable as for Google to use. But we'll find out once the news blackout ends. Why doesn't AI Partners, why aren't they buying Railtown instead of the other way? Actually, no, Railtown's bigger. I think Railtown, and I'm just, Brandon, I've shown you, I'm too tired to do it again, and I've shown you so many times my calculations based on, addressable market, 3% penetration with Conductor, what it could be, and the multiples. Railtown's much bigger than AI Partnerships, much bigger. AI Partnerships is like I don't know what to call it, but it's an organizer. It's like an association. It's like it's the leader of 160 companies. Those 160 companies collectively are doing 400 million, as I understand it. But AI Partnerships isn't doing 400 million. It's just like an association of it's a network of all these companies. It's not that big. And that's what Tony De Niro didn't understand. It's not expensive to buy it. But the question of rolling up those companies underneath it, would I got distracted. When they roll up the companies, that's when you question how are they going to do it. I think they're going to use the Constellation software model that doesn't issue a lot of shares, but we'll find that out. But no, Brandon, Railtown's much bigger at this minute than AI Partnerships. Once they start rolling up companies, AI Partnerships will get bigger. But Brandon, think about this. Maybe what's happening is they're merging because Railtown has bigger buying power than AI Partnerships, so they can negotiate from a better position, a position of strength, to negotiate the roll-ups. So, but no, Railtown's much bigger. I think Railtown could, I'm trying to remember the numbers I calculated, but I think Railtown could do 150 million on its conductor. It might take longer to get there, but it could do it all on its own. AI Partnerships is doing zero revenue right now. Zero. Well, I guess that's probably almost true of Railtown. They're probably doing very little. But all AI Partners revenue is whatever they charge this network of companies in dues. It's as they start rolling up each company, acquiring each underlying company, and they have announced this. It's in the press release. I read it to you. But no, they're doing it in the right order. Railtown's much bigger. Yeah, Donna, I think that I'm trying to remember how. I can't remember it quite now, but I did it several times, on a pad of paper, and you can each do it your own. The different ingredients of a formula, but I decided if I had to predict a buyout number for Railtown, assuming that the market stays strong, assuming the high multiples, but maybe there's a bidding war between Microsoft and NVIDIA or something, I could see it being bought for $275 a share. But that's a wild ass guess right now. And, it's probably 2 years out, 18 months to 24 months, 36 months. But we'll get a better picture as we go. All right. Let me see if there's anything else. I think I'm gonna, because I'm skipping a few synapses, and it says 8:30 here, but it must be much later than that on the East Coast. So I think I'm gonna wish everybody peace. I hope. I tell you what, I love that there seems like there's going to be peace in Ukraine and we're going to avoid World War III. But this attorney general from Nevada or Colorado, Nevada, she let a pedophile go back to Israel. And she's calling for the most heinous things to happen to the Palestinians. And I just wish there could be peace for those 2 million women and children. But we can just keep asking for it. And I pray there's peace for each of you guys tonight and tomorrow if we don't get together. And peace in your families, peace with your mothers, and happiness with your puppy dogs. So I'll say Bon Natale, and that's not good night. That's Merry Christmas. I'll say I'll say Spokojnej Noci. So peace and out.